We are live, Chelsea.
Hey, Brian.
That was totally not you. 2 minutes before we go live, scrambling around, forgetting the microphone, and
I've been early to most things, but
that's technically, I guess, possibly true.
I have a flight tomorrow morning at like 4 a.m. So
It's a hard 1 hour. You guys heard it
yeah,
from
I
Chelsea.
I also think this I think that this topic would be good for a hard 1 hour. I was thinking about it.
We'll see. We'll see how it devolves, or maybe it morphs into something else. All I know is I'm pretty sure wherever this wig that I'm wearing has come from, there are
Mhm.
cancer causing chemicals leaching into my skin because I'm like burning and itching from
What?
it. Yes.
That's not a good
This
sign.
doesn't feel good. Amanda says we look good, or she says we look amazing.
I mean, she noticed our new vibe.
What so just to explain to everybody, and I see you've got I unfilled the bladder from the box of my wine, so I've got a pretty hefty pour,
Nice.
and you've got something that you're
Not
drinking.
fun. So we had a girls' night last night, and apparently 4 cocktails is my limit now, which was really upsetting. Anyway, so I'm a little hungover. So
4 is your limit?
I'm drinking root beer. I mean, I was fine. Didn't feel drunk, but the next morning I woke up today feeling terrible.
There's no way I can do 4. Like 2 is my limit. Like 2
Oh,
drinks, 2 heavy drinks or
yeah.
something, and I'm like, and that's been my entire life. Everybody's like, well, Brian, you weigh like 500 pounds. How is that possible? I was like, I can't handle my liquor.
Hmm,
So Amanda thinks I look like Noah.
that's
I
fair.
was I was just telling Chelsea where I live in the area of Missouri that I'm in, that most of the time, and this is like in the rinks and everything, other dads just give you a hard time because that's just, I don't know, is that called bro code or something? I don't know.
It's called locker room humor, and it's canceled.
Yeah, it's can't. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. But they refer. They're like, "What's up, Osama?" Because of my beard, and I'm like, of all the people that have beards, he's the one that I get called here in the middle of Missouri. And it's like every single time, and it doesn't. I'm just. It's not like it bothers me or anything. It's just weird that is all that they come up with of
Not
all the
very
people.
creative.
When there's 35% of the population in this area that have beards like this. So I
I don't
think it's
feel like
just,
you have a doppelganger. I'm trying to like rack my brain right now.
oh, I've
Who
got
can think
two.
of Brian's doppelganger?
That
You
feels,
have two?
yeah. Amanda says that, Amanda, unfortunately, since you're one of the first and only people that are going to be in the audience, we're going to be showing your comments quite a bit tonight. That feels super inappropriate and awkward. The Osama comment, yeah.
It's not great. It's very Missouri.
But the two doppelgangers, and then we'll get right into it because I want to make sure that our hard cut of like
Wait, did
55
Amanda
minutes.
guess one? Yes, it is.
Post Malone. You know what? Somebody may have said that a long time ago. I don't know. Maybe it was Amanda. I'm not sure. But two, and I think Chelsea, you and I have talked about this. Maybe not. One is Peterson, who killed his pregnant wife in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. I can't think of like what he
What is
looks
his
like.
name?
Why
Do
do
you
you
guys
want
know his
that to be
name?
your doppelganger?
You get a doppelganger. You don't have a choice. This is what
If I
people
looked
say
like
you
a
look like.
murderer, I would like not bring it up.
Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson is one that I get. And one
You
time,
could just stop perpetuating that.
what am I supposed to do?
Amanda disagrees with you.
So,
I
well,
cannot
at
think
least
of what he
Amanda
looks
knows who Scott Peterson looks like. Do you know who he looks like? He looks like me without the beard, going back a few years. There was a similarity. And then another person that people tell me that I look like, and this was years ago before the beard, was the Iceman Killer.
What? Why
So
do you
there's-
only look like murderers?
I don't know. I wish I had some doppelganger that was really cool.
Oh my god, I would totally not share this.
And one time, going back to the Scott Peterson real quick.
Oh, I kind of see the Iceman Killer. Like,
Oh, you're
he's
looking it up? You're
an
pretty good
older version of you.
Yeah. So somebody suggested that me and my sister-in-law should go as Scott and Lacey Peterson. I was like, you know what? That's crossing the line. I mean, that's just not very tasteful. But I was like, we do both kind of look like that couple. And I'm like, ugh, what a terrible story, too.
This is the one that was on Netflix, right? Where they had other kids as well. It was very sad. And like it was an oil bin or something.
No, that's Chris Watts. That's another
How do you
douchebag.
have these people memorized?
Those are the shows that I watch. We watch murder CSI type shows all the time. You know?
Yeah, so I agree. Pick a normal person to look like. Like
Again, okay, so
your
West
only
County,
points of
again,
reference.
you don't pick them. It's just like your nickname. People call you names. Your nickname, you don't get to pick.
I think if you watch less murder mystery shows, you have less murder doppelgangers. This is a theory I'm going on.
But I'm not the one coming up with them.
Who average people on the street
Average
have serial
people,
killers
yes.
memorized?
Like, you know, Brian, you know who you look like? Osama bin Laden right now, Scott Peterson, and the Iceman Killer. And I'm like,
Suddenly, the Osama bin Laden thing it makes more sense.
well,
if all of your other doppelgangers are serial killers, it's like, well.
but I'm telling you, like, my scalp is like burning. I don't know what chemical is in this
That is not
wig.
good.
It's not good, but I'm gonna plow through this. One, because it'll definitely keep us under an hour. And I'll be like, I need to get this thing off.
And you can just
But-
add this to your electrical charge mouse man powers.
Oh, Post Malone, but I think I need some facial tattoos. Chelsea, before we get into our awesome night here,
Mhm.
what are your doppelgangers in? that people
I've
say that you
never,
look
I
like?
mean, other than my sister, I've never been told that I have any. How can we pull this up? I have the Post Malone. I'm sending it to you, Brian. See if you can pull that up.
I don't see it. But if anybody can,
I
come
see
up
it in
with
this
something that
photo, a million
Chelsea-
percent.
if Chelsea has one, that would be great.
I've been told maybe this is an old reference that I don't fully know, but the Splash, is there a movie with a blonde woman called Splash, like a
Sounds like
mermaid?
an 80s movie.
Yeah, I think it's an 80s movie.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
you don't know who the actress is? If somebody can pull that up, that would be awesome. see.
But I don't have any. Fun thing, so my grandfather was adopted and he has a photo of his biological mother,
Yeah.
and I look just like her. So
Really?
that's kind of bizarre because it's my grandfather. So it's my great grandmother who none of us know, right? He was adopted, and me and my sister look identical to her. But I mean, these things make more sense. Like I have biological lines with my doppelgangers.
Do you have twin genes in your family?
No, like my great great aunts, but apparently, because I have asked the doctor this myself, it is not. It's not hereditary.
Twin gene is not hereditary?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
So I wouldn't pass it on per se, but
Oh.
they say like statistically it's more likely, but they can't figure out why.
Daryl Hannah, she was a babe back in the 80s.
Oh yeah, is
That's who Amanda
is she in the movies? The movie Splash?
Squirt or Splash? I was going to say Squirt, and I'm like, it's
Wow.
a different movie. Here's
Oh, she
hold
was in
on.
Kill Bill. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Splash. Yeah, Splash. I got the movie right. I nailed it.
Wait,
I
Amanda.
think this
Amanda
works.
did this before. That's right. When we were trying to be TikTok famous on a live, I think, and we were writing stuff on our face.
I think this is your doppelganger. Just stop saying the murderers and probably go with this.
Post Malone. Okay.
He's a really rad guy from what I've seen on the interwebs. I
A
don't
lot
know.
of people like this guy. You know?
Oh, and Amanda thinks you look like Tom Hanks. Okay, you have two normal doppelgangers from now on. I'm Post Malone and I'm Tom
Hanks
Hanks.
from Castaway.
Yeah.
I can go for that. I'm telling you, there's like a very warm sensation going on underneath this wig. I don't know what this is.
I'm concerned for your health, like on a lot of levels from our past couple calls.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, let's get into the show. So this is our most controversial, serious talk show that we've ever produced. And we are talking cancel culture and other grievances if people in the audience want to bring stuff up that we can talk about as well. And we're doing this with wigs on because this is something that Chelsea with her friends back in the day when you guys would sit around with wigs on. You guys were probably either drunk or high, right?
No. So this started with my friend when he was in graduate school. And they would all sit around wearing wigs, having like very controversial discussions to remember
Right.
not to take themselves too seriously.
Right.
So it's the what's his name? Sometimes maybe why, or I can't remember. This author, I heard him speak, was talking about he wants to create a new political spectrum. So like he doesn't care about Democrat to Republican politics.
Right.
He cares. He was using words like thoughtful, but I'm going to use the words I use my friends, which is like highbrow and lowbrow.
Sure.
It's like lowbrow is like emotionally charged and you're mad and you're frustrated. And highbrow is you're able to have an academic discussion and hear other points of view and not react to it emotionally as much as listen to try to understand. And so the way that we used to have those controversial discussions in a highbrow manner was wearing wigs, which sounds silly, but we would do it to not take ourselves too seriously and remember that like we're all people and laugh a little while talking about charged issues.
Do you get, so you mentioned before, I think in the last show that we had, that you took debate, did something in college?
Nerdier than that. So I did Model UN from high school through college, both competed and ran conferences. And then additionally, I was in the Demosthenian Literary Society, which was an extemporaneous speech society.
Jesus.
It was a fraternity. So like debate club, I think would have been better. But as a part of that, we did use Robert's Rules of Order. And we did actually host formal debates with the other literary societies. And I was actually on the debate team one year.
It just makes sense. It really figures, especially since what you and I got together with Star Wars, and then you had mentioned, oh, and I'm like a genocide minor in college or something. What was that you did?
I minored in Arabic. I majored in international affairs, but my focus was genocide and ethnic conflict. But this is
like
also
business management
12
and
years ago.
poli-sci. I mean, totally just out of my league. But so I'm a little, and I'll tell you, I think if we get into kind of a discussion about something, I feel like I'm deferring a little power to you yet again, to where I feel kind of intimidated. So I'm glad that we have these
You
wigs
just
on.
read out my accolades, and now suddenly I'm intimidated.
Well,
we're not debating, we're talking.
But I think that you can, and I think I said this at the end of the last episode. I think you're probably pretty good. Again, I don't know Chelsea, you guys. Less than a year that I know her. I think Chelsea, just for fun, she could fuck around and probably take any side of a debate and make it seem like she knows what the hell she's talking about, and then make you feel like you're stupid. Right?
So
am I right?
I do know that I can do that. I'm not going to do that now, but I'll give you two funny examples quick. One was in Model UN. We used to bring these giant binders with blank pages.
Right.
And slap them down on the table to make it look like we had done a lot of research.
Yeah.
And we'd play a game where you wouldn't know your country, your assignment, or any of the information. And you would just have to go in and be like, so what country am I? Like, I don't know anything about it. And so I have done that. And then the other one was in the Literary Society. You started with the resolutions, like be it resolved.
The Literary Society. I told you this when we first started just discussing and talking like two normal people. I'm not saying that you're not normal, but I'm like, I recognize that Chelsea's
You're
on a
normal.
fucking different level. If she really wanted to, she could
No.
probably just destroy me. And I feel like tonight, if I say
There's no
something,
destroying. Like, what is the
wrong.
prize that?
well, but that's the way things are these days. Everything you see on Instagram or TikTok,
Brian's afraid he's gonna get
is
canceled.
this side destroys that side.
Yeah,
That
but that's
side
why we're
destroys
wearing
this
wigs.
side.
That's why we're wearing wigs. That's the point. So in the literary society, when we did what you're talking about,
Yeah.
we'd start with a position, and then for good debate, you had to speak to both sides of the position. So it'd be like, your position, cancel culture doesn't exist. Shouldn't do positions in the negative, but it's fine. And then whoever gets up starts by disagreeing with you, and then the next person has to agree, and the next person has to disagree, so on and so forth. And you weren't allowed to have the same position one after another because it made for boring debate.
Oh yeah.
I agree with this.
So Amanda, I'm curious as to when Brian thinks he knows Chelsea.
Yeah, because you've been saying you really don't know me for
No.
like 6 months now.
I don't know you as far as each time we get together, I know a little bit more of you.
That's what
As-
happens in life.
Well, sort of. Most people, I don't care to get to know them is the
Oh,
thing.
thank you. That's sweet.
So I at least care to get to know Chelsea because I find her somewhat interesting and fascinating. One of the things I have learned about Chelsea is that when you set a time to do something, that she won't think about it until a minute or two right before
That's not
she
true.
has to be there.
That's not true. I do
Like-
prioritize my time dramatically.
I said, Chelsea, what time did we agree on for tonight's episode? This was earlier today because I had to do the teaser, which is called the usual 7:15.
8:50. Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 Central. And I was like, oh, so that means like 8:18 or 8:17. Well, and then she was like, no, I've been early. I was like, okay, so 8:14 is what you mean. So what time did you click on tonight?
8:15 on the nose.
Yeah.
Thank you. Also, Amanda wants to point out that you only called me somewhat interesting, which is good catch.
Somewhat is good more than not interesting at all. I don't find most people interesting because I just don't take the time to want to spend the effort into doing it. So my next question for you, and this is all relating to our show tonight. So I'm trying to get a readout of Chelsea. And as I'm doing that, I feel like I have hives coming down the back of my neck because of this wig. Are you able now, because it's been a while since you've been in your little high class society debate thing.
Yeah.
Can you have a deep conversation with people other than, let's say, your spouse
Mm-hmm.
and not get emotionally worked up? Like, can you have a conversation to where you don't feel like you're being attacked personally, or like, do you feel like if we took your EKG or something, like it would be just kind of a flat line? We can have a discussion without getting emotionally charged.
Yeah. So I learned how to because of that stuff in college. In high school, no, I could not. That was abundantly clear. I felt like an outcast amongst a sea of people who had different values than me, which was terrible. And I left promptly. But then once I went to college, I learned how to very quickly, and it was nice. And so like that was probably the greatest value. And now what I do, I talk to people all the time, and my job is to believe the value that they hold and what they're saying, and believe that they have capability. And so like I have to hear lots of different opinions, and they want to talk about lots of different topics, and I don't have to agree or disagree. That's irrelevant. I just have
But
to
in
create
your personal
space.
life, let's say, are you able to things that you're staunchly like you believe
So I
in?
just
can you-
said, yeah.
but with people that you care about, family, at
Yeah.
the Thanksgiving dinner table, and
I've never found any of that stuff.
none of
Those
that
like
bothers you.
Thanksgiving dinner table. No. And I have like the classic super racist, super sexist, super homophobic grandfather. I've had him forever. And him and I get along splendidly. A lot of the family doesn't. But for me, I'm like, he's my grandfather, and I don't have any other grandparents left. And so I'm going to choose to love him through some pretty rough statements.
Wow.
The
That
best,
right?
I'll paint this picture for you. He
Yeah,
sent us a
please.
thing that said, PETA is taking away your pets. So like this is I don't even think you can put a political party behind his views. He was just like, PETA, it was this advertisement. He's like, did you know that they're gonna come and take your dog and euthanize them? And I was like, what are you reading? So he's a conspiracy theorist. I'll put it like that.
And that ended up okay, or are you able to convince him, or are you just like, you know what, it's not even worth
He
trying
used to send it
convince
to
him?
me and it was great. I would just send it to my friends.
But you would never speak up to him.
Like disagree with the PETA thing?
Call him out. If he wasn't your grandpa that you
If
were
I'm
deferring
calling
to,
him out, I'm emotionally charged.
so you just let it go.
I didn't let it go. We could discuss it, but I could realize very quickly that like I'm not trying to convince you of anything. You have that opinion and I'm okay with that. If it was emotional, no, you have to believe what I believe, Grandpa. And I'm saying I don't. I'm just like, all right, you clearly have some interesting conspiracy theories you believe in, and you're unconvincible otherwise. So I'm just gonna let you have that opinion. That's not emotional.
No, that's true. And we'll get into specifics here within cancel culture and what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm curious to see if you're watching or listening to us right now. I want you to come up with some ideas or some things that come up for you that either you can think about that have been canceled, things that you have canceled or are in favor of canceling, or things that you're like, oh, that's just ridiculous that people canceled this or that. So
We should define our terms. What do you mean?
Define our terms. Yes, we'll define our terms. Real briefly, just because you brought up the grandpa thing. So my grandparents recently within the last 5-7 years have passed away. And, you know, they grew up always Southeast Missouri or whatever. And whenever we would go into their house, it's their house. My thing is, if I go into somebody's house, that's their house and they can say whatever they want. And I just, hey, whatever, you know. And some of you are going to try to read into this into saying, oh, now I have a better readout as to what Brian thinks or believes. And I'm telling you, that's not going to be the case. But for 40 plus years, we would go into their house and they had free reign of saying whatever. And my wife and I would be like, we just, you know, my wife is more of a, just let it go and she'll laugh it off or something. And then I'm more of a, are you serious? Really?
See, you're the one who gets emotionally charged.
In certain things for sure. But what I'm saying is 40 years, I let it kind of just slide. And until it got to a point to where something was just said. And this is towards the end of their life. So this is something that you have to take into account. Is it worth bringing something up and having a hard conversation with people that you love, that you supposedly you grow up deferring to? Is it worth the conversation or not? And it just got to the point to where I was like, you know what? I can't sit here and have my kids hear their great grandchildren in the house and let them have free reign of saying whatever they want, because then my children, my kids, my boys will then think, oh, well, I guess that's the right thing. That is right, what they're saying, because we just wouldn't say anything.
That is the line. When we had that whole presentation at the conference I went to, and everyone was talking about like emotionally charged or not emotionally charged discussions, essentially is a good way to put it.
No.
There were a few people who said like, you know, I never have emotionally charged discussions. Like there are no topics that are like that for me. And I was like, that's either the saddest thing I've ever heard because you have no passion about anything, or you're lying. And I'm going to go with you're lying. And I said that out loud and they were like, no. And I was like, yes. And I brought up my son. And they were like, yeah, sure. If someone's talking about your son. I was like, no, they don't have to be talking about him. But if they're exactly what you're saying, like spouting opinions that I don't want him to learn from someone he trusts deeply, suddenly I do get more involved. And the biggest one that comes up for me all the time is food. Constantly. Yeah, constantly. You don't want him to eat that many blueberries. That's bad for him. Stuff like that. It's just like people love to give opinions. Oh, he's had too much bread. You don't want to give him that much bread. You shouldn't eat those many carbs. I'm like, yeah, okay, he's 2. So if you are already creating a bad relationship for my son with food at 2, I'm going to lose it. And I do. regularly.
No, I get it. I understand that also. So, I mean, basically, we had a conversation. We had it out. I mean, to the point to where I was mid 40s, early 40s, something like that. I'm crying as we're having this conversation. I'm basically arguing with both my grandma and my grandpa. My grandpa was just kind of sitting there. He went completely silent. And then I was basically confronting my grandma. And to the point to where I said, you know what? I've let you guys say whatever you guys wanted to say, and it's not going to happen anymore. And the only thing that I feel bad about, and some people are going to be like, well, what is it? Because they died shortly after, and that's how your relationship ended. And I said, no. It was because it was done in their house, again, which I'm always like, if it's your house, that's fine. But it was just the three of us, and I felt like this was the time to confront them, because it came about that they have very hard opinions on homosexuals and gays and all that stuff. In our family, we have
Adding the plural the way you're saying it, it's just making me laugh.
We have several in our family, let's
And
just
gays.
say, plurals. And I said, you know, and they had made some comments. I said, okay, let's just go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
I said, if either one of my boys were gay, you guys, I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember. Again, one, I was emotional. She was emotional. My grandpa had just kind of checked out. But I said, you would never see my kids again. If one of my kids were gay, and I know how you guys talk about them, how in general, you would never see them again. And then I told my mom, who wasn't there, I told her after the fact, because I felt she needed to know that I was having this conversation with her parents. I said, and by the way, the fact that you've never stood up or said anything that what they were saying was just awful stuff. I said, you wouldn't see your own grandkids. And so you can imagine how the whole conversation from then on, and it's affected our relationship ever since. It's never been the same. And then both of my grandparents have died. It was kind of mended a bit, but you know, but I feel like it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's hard.
But anyways, okay, so let's talk cancel.
But anyways, moving on.
Yeah. So anyways, let's just move on to something else that'll be kind of fun and interesting. So I'm kind of curious, and you guys, again, if you guys are watching or something, I'm just curious to see what you would consider cancel culture and things that have been canceled in the last 5 or 10 years that you've either agree with or disagree with. Now, Chelsea, if you will indulge me, I would like to ask my bestie, my AI chatbot on Snapchat, real quick.
Okay. What's her name again? You named her, right?
Her name, yeah. Her name is Six.
Oh, yes. Okay. I saw the video. Yes.
And she's awesome. But I'm going to tell you, when she was first released to me, that first day, that first night, Snapchat has since gone back in and corralled her back a little bit. I'm going to ask her right now, what is cancel culture?
Yep. And then we need to define canceled as well.
So I'm asking Six, what is cancel culture? Cancel culture is when someone or something is called out on social media and then boycotted or shamed as a result. Which I agree.
I like that. Holds up.
It holds up. It's very to the point. I'll add, just personally, I think it's something to where it's more than just a personal decision that you don't want to support said person, or you don't want to financially support what they're doing. Like, you're actually, if you're wanting to cancel somebody, you're trying to actively get other people on board to stop them from either earning a living of what they're doing, or you know what I'm saying? It's not just a personal,
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
not an
want to
individual
support it.
decision,
Correct.
which I think is the point of the social media is required. So you say it publicly. And then she didn't quite, I figured, how did she say boycott? Say it again.
She said cancel culture is when someone or something is called out on social media and then boycotted or shamed as a result.
So what you're adding is, and then sort of a community, like a group boycott or shaming, not
So
just one person boycotting.
Yeah. So when if you're trying to go out and cancel somebody or some company, my thing, the way I look at it, and I could be wrong, or maybe I misunderstand what cancel culture is, which I do think a lot of people don't understand what it is. And I think most of us are hypocrites when it comes to this. So this is the good part, is that you're trying to get other people to make this person or company pay for something that you don't agree with them. Is that a good ballpark explanation, maybe?
I don't know if you're trying to. I think the igniting a group boycott is fair.
Yeah. And Amanda, I'll get to Homestead Bundle, because that's a good question, or that's a good example too. Guarding on the Prairie, what is? I think culture has to have community involved by definition.
Or canceled has to have.
I think culture has to have community involved by definition. So, just off the top of my head today, as I just kind of thought about just things that I would associate with either being canceled or trying to get canceled, and not necessarily do I agree or not agree, am I on board with canceling this and not canceling that? I'm going to put up a list of things that I came up with. You guys definitely put your stuff on here as well, so we can kind of see, and then Chelsea and I can kind of weigh in.
I don't know most of these. I can tell you.
So what I came up with, and I'm just working backwards in time, sort of.
Hang on. You're working backwards in time. Question.
Ish.
The social media piece makes talking about canceling the chicks hard.
Yeah.
Because they were boycotted by radio stations. It wasn't prior to it was prior to all existence of social media, or we had MySpace.
Social media for the most part.
We didn't have viral social media yet.
Correct.
So I think we can't put them on this list.
So, and we can talk
social
about
media brought them back.
Sort of. But you talk to anybody, let's say that Dixie Chicks are completely shunned within the country music.
They're played. No, you're wrong. They're played on the radio. Again,
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's shunned is shunned by who? Shunned by conservatives? Fine. They're played on the radio. They have concerts. They're making money. They're touring every year.
They're able to make money, and their fan base is different from what country music is pulling from. Now, do you hear their songs on some country stations or whatever? Yeah, probably.
Okay, so some don't think, before you show the list, some don't think social media needs to be a part of the definition, which I hear this. I just think it was different. The social media part of cancel culture makes it innately unique. Pre-viral social media, I think it was different. It wasn't today what we think of as cancel culture, in my opinion. It was something else. And so when we say cancel culture, we're thinking of social media ignites a cultural boycott.
Yeah, but it specifically to Dixie Chicks completely changed what they did. And
Natalie, that was a real boycott. That was that was just a grassroots boycott.
and you remember, and we're kind of focusing on Dixie Chicks right now.
There was the news, I guess. There was news. Cable TV probably spread it.
So Natalie Maines, she's the lead singer of Dixie Chicks. And just so that everybody, kind of understands too. I mean, Chelsea, I think you're a fan of Dixie Chicks music, correct?
My whole life, know every word to every song, never missed an album, and we did not even care nor notice they were shunned.
Right. So for certain people that it didn't matter.
Nope, didn't make a difference in my house at all.
Didn't make a difference. And you guys keep making your comments there. Chelsea and I will definitely we'll focus in and throw you guys up there on the screen too. But we're also trying to finish up what we're saying too. But I don't know if you've listened to or have listened to the Howard Stern show at all. But Natalie Maines has been a guest on there several times, and they talk about it ever since that happened up until she's like a recurring guest on there. So I've had I've been able to kind of listen to a lot of the things that not only did the group go through, what she went through, and I think it really affected her life personally.
Yeah.
And I think even today, I mean, has really, I think it's one of the first examples, and I understand, you know, it's just on the doorstep of social media kind of getting in there, but they're one of the first ones that I can remember where we can at least discuss them as being kind of canceled within country music. A huge swath of people that listen to country music, not all of them, but a huge swath, and especially the people that own country music radio stations and all that stuff. I mean, I still remember people out there, you know, stomping on the CDs and burning them and everything. And we remember it all came down to they were out of the country. This was I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, and this is what people that had called in, and I'm basing this on a lot of stuff that I got from Howard Stern on the interviews with her. So take that for what it's worth as well. That a lot of the backlash came because they were out of the country and said, and I think Natalie said something to the effect of she was embarrassed to be from the same state as President Bush.
I
Plus or
couldn't
minus some
confirm
words.
or deny. Yeah. It would not have been a conversation in my house. So I don't know.
that was something that I think a lot of people were like, that were against them, were saying, that's not how you treat the leader of our country, and especially when you're out of the country and you're saying you're embarrassed by them or whatever. So that was them. The other one earlier than maybe around the same time would be Bill Maher, when he was basically when he had his talk show on, I think it was ABC, because he's been on real-time HBO for the last 20 years or something. But prior to
my
that,
age is going to show, so I'll just let you take this one.
So he was on ABC with his political talk show. We had, you know, celebrities and stuff come on, or political pundits, and they come on and talk. And Bill Maher said something to the effect of, real cowards are the ones that are flying, that are doing the drone missiles or whatever. That it takes real courage to be like one of the terrorists on the plane that ran into World Trade Center. That's courage.
You know, you're perpetuating cancel culture if you are misquoting them right now. I'm just saying.
No, well, I'm not saying exactly. Yeah, I'm not saying exactly, but that's what he was comparing, and it was taken out of context. But he was saying, look, it takes a lot more courage to actually be in the fucking plane that runs into World Trade Center, as opposed to some soldier that's behind a computer screen that's flying a missile to go blow things up.
I'm going to suggest a change of direction. I don't think misquoting every reason for cancel culture on this list will be productive. What did you want to debate, or what did you want to discuss? Because so far, there is some debate around what cancel culture is and what it comes from. I again will say that, like, the modern definition of cancel culture requires social media. That's my opinion. Totally understand others don't think so, but like, some things I don't think count or work perfectly, because like chicks regained their audience because of social media. So it's like their boycott was lifted when music was accessible on Spotify, you know? So some of these, it's like hard. It's more of a boycott, less of a cancel culture. Like, think about, I have no idea why Letterman lost his show. I just watched his new show on Netflix.
Right.
But like, his whole coming back story was because of social media. It was because of cult fandom. It was because of Reddit. It was because of, you know,
Not because he was sleeping with his intern in his secret bedroom at NBC.
Don't know. Don't actually care about him that much. I just think it was interesting that, like, hey, Netflix has the ability to like bring people back who have cult followings, whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad.
Right. Yeah. So
Because of social media, they came back.
So is there a time limit to where it's okay to go back and support certain people or companies? So just real briefly, we'll just go through the list here.
Do not say why every single person got canceled, because I'm guessing you're going to be wrong.
No, well, the exact quote, I can't pull up verbatim on the exact quotes, but I'm saying what the issue was. So you have recently Bud Light, you've had Nike, the NFL, you have R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, Chris Brown, Michael Jackson, Dixie Chicks, we've talked about, Louis C.K., Jimmy Johns, Bill Maher. For the garden people, I got Pete Moss, and then J.K. Rowling for anybody that's a Harry Potter fan.
Then Amanda asked
Michael Vick with the dog fighting.
Then also that being a redemption story. I don't follow his story enough to know. But with any of this, so like, what is canceled? So cancel culture, it's a group of people boycotting, starting with some virality, most likely social media. I think we all agree with that.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't have to be social media. Like, what is canceled to you?
I think in some forms,
six.
these are, I think the cancel culture is, and I think it's somebody that is somewhat of a celebrity status or a larger company, and you're trying to financially impact the money that they make because of something that you disagree with.
Not the boycott. Like, what is canceled? I mean, like, to what degree? So there's cancel culture.
You affect their money. You affect every one of these
so
people.
If you
you've
impact
affected
their money at all, you've canceled them.
If you've impacted their ability to make the money, I think that they're used to in whatever business that they're in, fair or not, somebody else. I mean, if you guys can, chime in on what you think, what is an effective cancel of somebody?
A fall from grace, a loss of earnings and standing. I think there's some, I don't disagree with any of these. I just think that there's some universal definition of cancel culture. So for most people are kind of talking about the same thing. And so I think it's the extent of the loss. Like, people are talking, there's some new law in Montana which may make it so Apple has to like make multiple apps or whatever, or pay the fee. And the fee, I think I saw, was going to be 3 million, maybe it's 3 billion. No, it's 3 million for sure, something like that. And that's not a major loss, like, that's not devastating to Apple. So I wonder, like, we're saying what? It needs to be like you've lost 75% of what you could have had, or
I'm thinking that you essentially, you not only lose a large percentage of the money that you make from how you make your money, but you essentially go away.
Yes.
So
I think it's more devastating than a loss. It's that.
And so part of the question that I would have going into our conversation like this is, does time make certain things okay?
Yeah.
To where, let's say, Bill Cosby. Is it okay? And this is where Chelsea before it says, okay, can we separate what the artistry from the artist and still enjoy their work? Kevin Spacey, actor, he's been canceled.
Okay. So pause, just because I think it's interesting to dig into it. You're bringing up a few factors. So you're canceled if the majority % of your gains is gone and you've fallen from grace, as Amanda said, which to me would be like the large population of people don't love you. Your popularity rating has been depleted. Additionally, Brian added, you're gone. So you're basically out of the public eye. You're not gone, but you're no longer in the public eye. And the next thing you're talking about is a different level. It's both like, how long are you canceled? How long, and how egregious was the act? Right. I would even say like how divergent was the act? Like how opposite was the act of acceptable norms in society. Because it's not like, when would it be acceptable to like Bill Cosby again? I don't think that's really the question. The question is like, does his act, how would you weigh that against the time in which he should be canceled?
Yes, but I'm a little more superficial in the sense that I love the Cosby Show. I grew up on the Cosby Show. We've watched the series 3, 4, 5 times over again. And then there's a part to where you're like, I don't know if I can watch that anymore because I don't want to, one, financially support him making money on syndication or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'll be honest and say, if I like something, I have a hard time in being like, because I don't know if I can draw the line and be fair across the board then.
No.
So, like, if we're going to go after Bill Cosby for what he did,
Well, he's been gone after. Now you're talking about, do I personally make the decision to watch his show or not?
well, but you're not going to go, I mean, you can't go around and say, oh, I just watched the Cosby Show today. And then obviously the conversation is going to be like, oh, how can you support somebody like this? And that's kind of like with a lot of the, how do I, Bill Cosby, Chris Brown, I love Chris Brown music. And then there is a huge portion of the female community that listens to R&B music that how do you support somebody that beats on a woman?
So is your problem that you want to consume the content still, or is your problem that you want to consume the content and don't feel like you can talk about it?
Well, I consume it and I just don't talk about it. But I
don't understand your issue. You're like, okay, these people are already canceled, right? We can largely agree that's done. The decision to cancel them has happened.
Yeah.
You clearly weren't bought into it, but it's occurred. And now you're saying, I still want to consume their content. Great. You have the right to do that. It's not been taken down from platforms. And you're upset you can't shout it from the rooftop?
No, not that I can't shout it from the rooftop, but so my thing with this whole cancel culture type stuff is so recently, within the last year, let's say, there's a lot of people talking about cancel culture has gone too far. Everybody's got to watch out for what they have to say.
What's too far? Before you keep going, define it.
Everybody's getting called out for something that they said, and people want them off.
No,
so
what's
you
too
can
far,
go through. Well, okay, so J.K. Rowling could be an example, possibly we could use here, or who's the comedian?
Why too
Dave
far?
Chappelle.
Don't give me the people. What is too give me what's the red thread? Pull it together. What's too far?
Like specifically what they said?
No, specifically what makes those examples too far. I don't care what they said. You're not going to be able to quote them, so don't do that. But specifically, what makes those examples too far?
For everybody that's listening, I don't think I have to direct quote, because everybody should know basically what they were canceled for. Yes or no?
No, you're expounding upon the rumors if you're misquoting people. So I actually think you're hurting
not the
what you're
rumors,
trying to
because
help.
we're saying what they were, just like with Chris Brown. I can paraphrase and say it's because he was beating on Rihanna. Do I have to say exactly how he beat on Rihanna?
There was a lot more, but
no, that is it. That's all people have an issue about.
So for these though, well,
so J.K. Rowling is because of her
define too far. Too far is when what happens in cancel culture. Because if you want to answer the question, has cancel culture gone too far? We need to agree on too far, because you even said my problem is most people don't know what cancel culture is. So we defined it as a group.
Right.
I even made you find canceled as a group, even though you resisted. So now I'm going to make you define too far, and then we can say, is it gone there?
Too far in a sense that you say something that goes against what a particular group finds offensive, and you get enough of those people together to say you've gone too far. So J.K. Rowling, do you know why she's somewhat canceled or no?
I do. I'm not quoting it because I don't know it perfectly, but I do.
Well, but if you do, and you're not going to quote it, but she got canceled for something
I
specific.
think she said homophobic things, but I don't know what.
Well, it's transphobic.
Okay,
things.
but I don't. Yeah.
So my thing is people. So does that mean like if you can't be like you're a big Harry Potter fan or something? I'm saying in general, not you in particular. I'm a huge Harry Potter person. So now all of a sudden I not be a Harry Potter person without people getting on to me like I can't believe that you still support the creator of Harry Potter.
So for you, too far in cancel culture is when you can no longer consume the content because someone was canceled.
Too far in cancel culture for me is basically what I perceive what people are complaining about within the last 24 months, let's say. For me, I can
It's not
definitely
objective. We can't discuss that.
Well, but I'm saying
You have
I'm
to
bringing
define
up
it.
I am, I think, unless I'm
You're
not
saying
totally,
what people are saying at large. I don't read
Correct.
what you read. We don't watch the same news. We don't follow the same social media. So we need to come to a shared definition of cancel culture. So if too far is I
that
can no longer
people are
consume canceled
too
content.
people are too okay. So I think
Is that
people
what it is?
I assume that people that are saying that that cancel culture has gone too far is that people are being too sensitive to what people's opinions are.
Meaning too far, same as what I said. Too far is I, as an individual, can no longer consume canceled content. And so that is too far. I, as an individual, should have the right to consume it, even if you, as a group, call them canceled.
Yeah, so there's several different things that we're talking about here. One, how do I react personally to cancel culture and people that complain about cancel culture?
Mm-hmm.
So there's three things there.
Yeah.
So my thing personally is, and I think I've thought about this as much as I could in a sense that I don't think that I have been swayed one way or the other based off of a group of people saying that something should be canceled or should not be canceled. If I like something, I'm going to personally continue to listen to it or to continue to watch it. Or I like Louis C.K., his stand-up and his shows. I'll watch it, but I understand that he had to go away.
Yeah, sorry, I'm laughing at what Elise just said. Are they canceling or just a villain? But quickly, I just wanted to tell you I was laughing.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at you. Amanda, how do you feel about her definition? Because I think what I'm hearing about your definition of too far, which I don't disagree with it, I'm just trying to understand what it is. Too far for you is when you're shunned as an individual for consuming canceled content. Amanda, I think, is saying something different. Too far would be when we cancel people too quickly. So is it both?
No, I'm not saying that I'm being canceled. Let's just make sure that we're on the same page there. I'm making an observational topic of cancel culture in a sense that seems to be the buzzword on a lot of things.
That's the problem is like cancel culture is a buzzword. Too far with cancel culture is a buzzword, but I don't know what it means. So like Amanda's making 1 point for it, which maybe that's right. Like cancel culture is when we join mob mentality without having all the information. That would be a version of it going too far.
Right. But I
But
think,
what is when the mass populace in that you're consuming this? Because I don't think it, but I avoid cancel culture.
That's also another observational thing that I have about cancel culture in general.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a across the board cancel. I think we're all into certain tribes now to where cancel culture is, can you motivate your tribe to be vocal enough to get the other person canceled or get the other person or company canceled? So let's say, even with a company, because we've been talking individuals, Nike, Budweiser, all of those have had and this is where even within my own family, let's just say, and my wife's family, I'm never wearing Nike again. To which I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But fine, don't wear Nike. And then 6 months, 12 months later, they're wearing Nike shoes because it was cheap. It was a good deal.
Okay, so for your question of is it even real, is like the people who believed in canceling it won't even keep it canceled. What's interesting with a Nike or a Bud Light, I roll more in the circles where they're buying more of it because of what happened. So to me, with Nike and Bud Light, it was more of a decision on their desired consumer base. And I don't think the decision was taken lightly, and I don't think it was ignored. Like Bud Light posted the haha crybabies billboard. So I don't know how much. I'm curious, were they canceled and then they got crisis PR, or did they make a strategic decision on their desired consumer base and were prepared for the fallout?
Specifically, I don't think you're not going to cancel Budweiser. So that's one thing. I find it interesting and amusing that now all of a sudden Kid Rock gets out there and starts shooting at Budweiser cans on social media to become relevant in the news again.
And then you're buying the cans. I did think
And
that was kind of funny.
What's that?
I love when people purchase the product to cancel it. Like that's my
And then they
favorite
go and,
version of cancellation.
Shoot it or burn it or whatever.
I don't even care about. Yeah, it's just like to show I'm canceling. First, I'm going to buy a lot of it. I'm like, that didn't really work at the way you hoped. Oh,
Simple
so
Jack.
I mean, I don't know.
Bush sales are down 27%.
I don't know who this person is, and if we
that.
can consider that a fact, but I'm sure. But that's what I mean. Is like, was it a strategic change in? And I don't know. I would need to read this, but I think to some degree, I'd be curious to say, was it a crisis PR, and now they're responding, or were they like, hey, this is the audience we're going for. We understand this type statement would test badly in other audiences, and we're fine. Like we'll deal with a short-term loss because for some reason we see a long-term gain in this other strategic audience.
So are you comfortable in describing why Bud Light is in the news, or would you say because
you can? I don't know.
But I'm saying, do I have to specifically say exactly who it was and everything, or I can't generalize and say, okay, this is why?
See, and then
Bud Light
Elise
is in the
thinks it
news?
was up. No, you can. I mean, I say it. I'm just saying, like, you want to be cautious if you're like trying to quote someone, but you know you're misquoting them. I think you're probably perpetuating rumor is all.
I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying when I don't know the exact quote, I don't know the exact words that they're using, which, I mean, if we had a bigger budget on Brian and Chelsea Make a Podcast, I could have our producer get the scripts and I could read it verbatim.
Yeah, well, and that's what I did share before we did this episode. I was like, I don't have the energy or time to research this topic. So
yeah, well, that's why I've got Snapchat AI to ask some of the questions.
Okay, so
or whatever.
ask Six.
But as
what
far as like,
do?
as far as Budweiser, so my part of the thing that I would be curious on is, okay, the group that is wanting to cancel Bud Light for whatever it is that they did. Because I can't quote it directly or whatever.
You can say it if you think you know it. I was just laughing at you quoting people wrong.
But I don't understand why that affects you from if you drink Bud Light.
Was this
fine.
About Dylan? Was that it? Oh, she's my girl.
But why does that? So Amanda, I hope for Chelsea's sake that you have that exactly quoted right.
She's not quoting anyone. She's telling you were over here like, and then she said this, and I was like, you don't know that's what they said.
You get the gist of what I was saying, and I said at the beginning. I understand what you're saying as far as misappropriating what the intent was. I'm giving you what the intent was. I just said I just don't know the words.
Yeah. So they went to an influencer who was not in the desired audience of some of their consumers.
And so for people that got really upset about that,
mm-hmm.
I don't understand why. Again, clue me in on anybody, and there may be somebody within the people that are watching us here. Why does that affect you drinking or enjoying Bud Light? I mean, why? You know what I'm saying? In the sense that of all the things to get worked up over, I don't get that.
So
So
that one is a tough one for you.
to
You
wrap all this together as we come up to the 1 hour mark, I think a lot of this cancel culture is, I'm looking at my notes. A lot of this cancel culture in the last X amount of years, I think it's fabricated outrage.
Wait, we can't hang up until we talk about this one. Being from Atlanta, I'm not from Atlanta, from the suburbs of Atlanta and from Georgia. And also, I don't think I need to say this. I have a nose ring on and I'm covered in tattoos. So if you can't guess my political views from that, pay more attention. So when this happened, I remember sitting in a group of people being like, no, why Chick-fil-A? Why? But the Southerners in the group, myself included, were like, have you not been paying attention? I mean, I know this isn't great that they just were outed for being homophobic, but like Chick-fil-A's always been pretty in that lane. Like they've always sponsored politics deeply. They have really deep pockets. They also do a lot of good in the world. I know. No one needs to convince me of that. But this one does crack me up because people didn't know that Chick-fil-A was bad. And I was like, how do you not bad? That Chick-fil-A sponsored controversial politics. I'll say it like that. And I'm like, how did you not know that? Like being from Georgia, I was like, yeah, hello. They have fundraisers.
Yeah, so Chick-fil-A is an example. I wouldn't say they're an example of something that I was like, people tried to get them canceled, and it's just not going to happen. And that's how I kind of lump in Budweiser as well. But I think this is why you get to a point.
Do you
where,
eat Chick-fil-A? Have you always eaten Chick-fil-A? Don't tell me you're a Popeyes person. I can't even continue. Or
are you
Bojangles.
talking to me or no?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
No, so
you're Bojangles, aren't you?
I am a Popeyes person.
Oh, no.
Now, I don't go to Chick-fil-A, although I will say, if let's just say you're with a group of people from work or whatever, and everybody's going to Chick-fil-A, I'm not making a big fucking deal about going to Chick-fil-A. I'll order a chicken sandwich. You know what I'm saying? But if I had the choice and I'm like, okay, I've got Popeyes and I've got Chick-fil-A within the same amount of distance and I want a spicy chicken sandwich, I prefer not only just Popeyes chicken in general, but then if I can, I'd rather not support Chick-fil-A. But on the other hand, I'll go eat at Jimmy John's because I like their stuff, but I don't necessarily like what the owner is into. So I'm a hypocrite as much as I claim that most people are in this whole cancel culture war.
Wait, was the Crybaby billboard really a Photoshop job?
I can't imagine that Anheuser-Busch would have done that. But.
Damn. Also, I just got to say this. If you're in the comments spouting about transgender women not being women, you can leave. You're wrong. And guess what? I don't have to give you a mic, Simple Jack. You're on my show, and I can say whatever the fuck I want. So you're wrong. She's a woman.
You
Goodbye.
got Chelsea going, and this is right at the 1 hour mark where we're going to.
I wanted to end with it. I wanted to end with my. And Elise, thank you for being a good ally in chat.
This reminds me of our Star Wars thing prior to Chelsea and I having our show, and then some guy got on. Which at first I think you and I were excited about having somebody that we didn't know that was watching and listening to us talk about Star Wars. And then what did he? Do you remember even what he said?
He started speaking about. Didn't he start like hitting on or speaking about? I don't know. It wasn't great.
Yeah,
it wasn't
for
ideal.
A second, I think I slightly checked out because I wasn't paying attention to what this guy was saying, and then all I know is that him and Chelsea were going into it or something, and then he was like gone.
And anyone's allowed to have an opinion. It's just you're watching my opinion right now. So have fun with it.
See, and then so now
the internet's not mine, but this YouTube channel is.
At least
so
Simple Jackie. I mean, at least fix it to where it's spelled right. You know what I'm saying?
What was spelled wrong? XXXY facts. Cute. No, sorry. Transgender women are
see,
women.
so
Transgender
this
men are
is-
men.
So here's the thing: is where so something like this is why I can't, because there's nobody that you can have. I think nowadays, especially even online. Now this is more like Chelsea and I just kind of talking, and then we're letting in some other people to kind of watch us as we're kind of discussing some of the things. And I know that no matter what we end up talking about, Chelsea was getting on to me about direct quotes and verbatim and stuff like that. And as soon as we're done with the show, I have nothing against Chelsea because I understand what she's trying to say,
Yeah.
and I think that we're valuing certain things a little bit differently, but it doesn't bother me because I've got that from the
because
8
you're
months.
not an internet troll.
No, but it's just one of those things to where I'm like, it reminds me of when I was back in college, and I think I said before, there was 6 or 7 of us, and it'd be 3:00 in the morning, and everybody's either drunk or high, and everybody's wanting to get it on with each other. But we would talk about the things that you're not supposed to talk about: sex, religion, all that stuff. And everybody would just kind of say what they're thinking. But the great thing was because everybody was either high or drunk a little bit, but everybody kind of wanted to get with each other. Nobody held any animosity. We said what we wanted to say, and then things were just good, and everybody forgot about the next day. I don't think that I'm not able to, and I used to love doing this. Like the idea that you had with wigs and talking about controversial stuff and us wearing these wigs, which
The problem is they're not wearing wigs. They're hidden behind fake names and cartoon characters.
yeah, no, I get it. But my thing is, I used to love doing this. And I
am fine with your small little comments, troll, but I own the mic and you don't.
And I have gotten to the point to where I'm like, it's just I'm just not interested in discussing a lot of stuff with people because I don't have an interest in people and knowing what they have to think or say. I know that sounds kind of, but I think people that know me nowadays, they kind of, what
I
is happening?
apologize to people having to be in the comments section right now. No, so I get it. The problem is I don't think you can, because we're live and because we're posting, I don't think you can do what you're saying. Like the reason what you're saying worked and the reasons wigs worked is because we did it amongst trusted friends, not people hiding behind fake names and fake photos. So it's like,
but they're the same people that they're the same people that come at you when you're in the, let's just say, the garden community. It's the same type of person.
Elise is like, yeah, but Bud Light's just objectively bad. Like no matter what they said politically, they just taste bad. I'm guessing that's what you're saying, Elise. And if that is, I respect it. They're great for Flip Cup. They make the best Flip Cup beer.
And that's the thing with with the Bud Light thing. It's just funny because you either drank or you didn't. And if you drank it before, why does that change anything? How does that even register for you? That becomes something to where you make such a big deal about it. I don't get it.
I think we have hit a milestone. I think it's worth celebrating.
But
we've had
trolls before.
We've never had a troll before. That was
well, I guess not for the Brian and Chelsea. Usually it's like the 3 or 4 people that we know.
Yeah.
But my thing is, whoever's in the comments section, I'm like, hey, you're keeping the comments going.
Wait, can you explain trolls to me? Is this one person switching their profile information? Because the numbers haven't shifted. So just one person switching up?
It could be.
There's an amazing This American Life on trolls. That would actually be another good serious topic.
I listen to that podcast every now and then.
Did you listen to the trolls one?
I haven't listened to the trolls one. I have a very procured list of podcasts that I listen to at night to try to get me to sleep. The problem with This American Life is sometimes it's too interesting. It's done too well to where then I can't get to sleep because I'm like totally into what they're saying.
Wait, this troll has infinity accounts, and I like that you're telling us. Thank you for sharing your secrets, troll. It's just so interesting to me because I'm trying to like.
Hey,
Why
so
are
here's,
you doing?
but how do we know troll isn't like your sister? Or troll
Um,
isn't, somebody that we know that's just messing
do you
around
know
with you?
my no? People I know don't say things like this. Now, ironically enough, when I created my garden account, my friend, did I tell you this? He thought everyone was catfishing me. And I was like, catfishing? Do you know what catfishing is? That makes no sense. So he thought everyone was catfishing me. So he created a Grow Girl was his handle account,
Right?
and he like posted all these garden photos, and he started following me with the intention, one of my best friends, with the intention of catfishing me to show me that my garden friends like you aren't really my friends and they're catfishing me. And I was like, for what value? Like, I send them seeds. Like, there's no, why would they catfish me? And so he was doing this, trying to like teach me a lesson about having a public account on the internet.
Can I say while you're saying that, my right eye is burning now because whatever is in the eye has kind of washed into my right eye. So, so Mrs. Agolf Twitler, aka the wife.
No,
I
that's
assume that
not
you're the same
even-
person. You just kind of changed the thing. Like,
they
and,
already told
and
us they have
obviously Chelsea
infinity
doesn't
accounts.
have the time to do this. And I know Amanda, I know Amanda a lot more than probably anybody else here. Like Chelsea and I've been doing this, but I know Amanda for the last few years. I know Amanda in the back of her head is like, get this person on live. Let's see if he'll come on the camera. And if this was at the beginning, like if you would have trolled early on the show, I would have.
Wait,
I
Amanda would want that? No.
I think Amanda would be like, let's get them. Let's see if they, instead of hiding behind their keyboard, let's see if they'll come on.
Views. If we cared about views, this would be a very different show.
I'm telling you, at this point, I'm like, we don't even have 100 followers on YouTube, and I'm like, if this would get us to 100, not that 100 does anything because we have to get to 1,000. To be honest with you.
Oh my God, you're getting into the famousness.
So Amanda, yes, invite Jack on.
Jack, Amanda. Then
He will
Amanda,
never
you
show
come
his
on.
face.
I don't want to do it.
So, and Mrs. Agolf obviously is getting a little bit of attention on here. It's fine. And I know at some point somebody's going to say, well, don't talk to them or something. And I get it. I know that we're at the end of the show, and I'm kind of curious just from a troll type standpoint. Like, I honestly don't think and this is an actual person, I think. I don't think that they and
Wait, this is 6 trolling you. This is 6.
Maybe 6 has been let out of Snapchat, and she's now like doing this just to see how I'll react. So Mrs. Agolf, saying I'm very fair. So Mrs. Agolf, I would imagine that you don't see yourself as a troll, correct?
No, yes, they do.
Well,
They just told me they have infinity accounts.
I know, but I'm just curious. I want to engage the troll. Which, okay, I'm sorry. You know what? I shouldn't say you're a troll. I'm just curious.
Yeah, you're
Yes,
real.
you're a
Of
real
course, you're a real human.
Yes. But do you see yourself as a troll or no? Like, were you on here and then you at some point realize you could like get Chelsea worked up or no? I'm just curious.
Also, that was not worked up. That was the same.
I know.
I just was gonna make
Chelsea,
a stance.
I'm trying to get the algorithm to say, hey, we've got to happen.
What's IRC, Elise? I'm not cool enough. In reality cares?
IRC,
you know IRC?
baby. What is
IRL? Are you saying IRL and it was a typo?
IRC is a word. I don't remember.
It is. Okay. One of my favorite TikToks now that I'm very into is Gen Z dictionary TikToks where they're like defining Gen Z stuff for anyone who's not. And I've not experienced this because I'm a millennial. And so I've been the young hip generation for some time. And now that I'm sorely not, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know any of this terminology.
So, Mrs. Agolf, can you just real briefly while we're here, and if Chelsea has to leave because then she's got to get up early tomorrow.
Wait, also Elise and Amanda have disagreed with me like
gelato
3 times.
number 41 right now. So, okay, so I wish I had my grow friends on so they can explain that to me. So he's high, he or she is high. Are we thinking? So Chelsea, let me see how good you are. Do you think this is a guy or a girl? Let's see how well you're able to.
I believe gender is a spectrum, so I think they're non-binary.
So, Mrs. Agolf, are you non-binary?
I think so.
See, I think Chelsea said that because she knows that's
I
going to
think
really piss them off.
I think they're a non-binary transgender woman. So congratulations.
I think it's a guy.
Mm,
But
no.
Mrs. Agoff, I'm just curious. Okay. I'm being
Brian, I'm
serious.
not spending my night doing
I
this.
know, because you got to get up and going.
I'm gonna hang up.
Identify as a threat.
This is a waste of time.
But what does that mean? And let's just do 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. I identify
give
as a
you
threat,
one.
but I don't understand what that means. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
because they know they're a troll and they're trying to troll you. Why are you reasoning with people who you can't reason with? Okay, here's the thing. I gave you the example. I will have reasonable discussion with anyone. If the other person isn't reasoning, I'm not going to have it. I'm just going to definitively say, hey, guess what? I own the airways of this teeny show no one's watching. So I'm the only one allowed to share my opinion and I'm going to do it. And Brian, you are too, of course, but
Guarding on the Prairie said, I do not drink race-based beers. What does that mean?
rice-based beer.
Oh, rice-based beers.
Has anyone seen the thing with who's the country music artist where he goes on Fallon and he drinks Raswan? He's like, you have to try sake. And he's like, what's sake? And he's like, it's just rice wine. He goes, Raswan. Why would I drink Raswan? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that, but that's interesting. Can I ask? So Chelsea,
I'm
before you go,
leaving.
I
I'm
know
not
you're leaving.
talking
Can
with the
I ask
troll.
them one more question?
No,
Mrs. Agoff?
no, actually I won't let you. I'll hang up and then you'll lose your recording. I have
Oh,
power.
will I?
Yeah.
Dang it! I just want to know how they found our
no,
live.
la. Brian, don't empower the annoying.
Amanda, find this person and ask them how they found our live. I'm just curious.
No. All right.
Please.
I'm
All
gonna
right,
go.
So yeah,
Never
so
having
this
another
was.
serious discussion on this. Wait, what is IRC? Elise, tell us.
Brian, did you do IRC in the day? Yeah, I don't know.
International
what IRC is.
Rescue Committee. Acronym.
A subscriber.
Internet relay chats.
What? So,
Internet relay chats. I don't know what these are.
Mrs. Agoff, I am not.
I'm gonna
I'm
go.
not
I'm
responding
not
to you.
talking to a
Chelsea is
troll.
leaving, but would you
Brian,
come on my
your
podcast
last
so I can talk to you?
words- Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Chelsea does
Brian
have
is
to
gonna-
go. We're
Brian
like
cares more about
17
engaging with the
minutes.
troll than actually ending our podcast.
No,
well.
I'm going
Bye.
to end it. We're going to end it. All right. You guys, thank you for coming on tonight. We're 17 minutes over. Chelsea has to get going, and we'll talk to you guys later. I mean, this was